Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmadu wa nusalli ala Rasuli Kareem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Line number 26 from the poem of Ibn Abil Izz, rahimahullah, on the biography of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. ثم دعا في أربع الأعوام بالأمر جهرة إلى الإسلام. In the fourth year, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam invited to Islam openly by command. So in the fourth year of prophethood, some Imams say that the 3 years were completed, others say it was the end of the fourth year, where the Prophet ﷺ was ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hijr, ayat number 34, فَاصْدَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرْ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. Declare with what you've been ordered, and turn away from the mushrikeen, from the idolaters, from those who associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are other ayat as well in the Quran where the Prophet ﷺ, he has been for 3 or 4 years, he's been giving da'wah to his very close friends, relatives, community, his tribe, and now he has to give da'wah to the general public, or the tribe of Quraysh, the people that that are not so close. And the news is there, they know that something is happening, and they know some meetings are happening and people are gathering together, and they know, but it's not a public matter yet. So it took 3 to 4 years, and for Rasulullah SAW to have that community around him, the Muslims, and the Muslims, because if they came out the first day, they would have been wiped out. So now Islam has spread within the major tribes of the thing. Now, as a result of this, directly the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, there is an error on the slide here. It says radiyallahu anhum after he ﷺ, and that's just a mistake there. As a result of this, as soon as the Prophet ﷺ made his on Mount Safa, Safa and Marwa, when you go to Hajj and Umrah, may Allah reopen it for us again inshallah and give us all tawfiq to go there. On Mount Safa, Rasulullah ﷺ stood, and he called all the various clans, and he said that if I was to tell you there's an enemy, I'm summarizing it, behind this mountain, horsemen, they're ready to attack, would you believe me? And they actually got nervous, because Rasulullah ﷺ always told the truth. So they were concerned when they heard those type of words being used by Rasulullah ﷺ, and he said, you are the most truthful. We never, and we know that how they, for 44 years, they've accepted everything from Rasulullah SAW. In whole life, they've accepted everything from Rasulullah SAW. All of a sudden, when the Prophet SAW announced them of a painful torment, an azab that's coming, if they can continue doing what they're doing, they continue to do shirk, they continue to worship idols, to worship other than Allah, and disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then their end will be like previous nations, which is the fire of Jahannam. So Rasulullah, I'm warning you of your painful torment that is to come. As soon as he did that, his own uncle, he stood up, Abu Lahab stood up, and he cursed Rasulullah SAW. Have you brought us for this? The most important thing Rasulullah SAW has gathered them for in their whole life, and he said, have you brought us for this? And he cursed Rasulullah SAW. In that retaliation, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was so offended that his Habib is straight. Then the surah Masad is revealed, Tabbat yada Abi Lahab, may the hands of Abu Lahab be cursed and ruined, that his wealth and nothing of his benefits him, will not be of any benefit to him. And him and his wife are both cursed together because of the difficulty, the most harshest treatment to Rasulullah SAW with these people. So, and the situation became very severe for the Muslims. We know that Ammar radiallahu anhu, Ammar bin Yasir, his father was killed. His mother Sumayya radiallahu anhu was killed. They both made shaheed. These are the first shaheeds in Islam. And she was killed in a very, speared in her private parts. I mean, they really, kufr, when haqq comes, truth comes, kufr doesn't sleep. It causes a reaction. And the reaction was severe. And there was no mercy in that reaction. And the way they dealt with the Muslims, early Muslims, like Bilal Habash radiallahu anhu, was tortured in Makkah. The Bilal, the Ethiopian, the Sahabi, the companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidina Bilal, he was tortured, his rock was put in, he was whipped. The torturers used to get tired whipping him. But he used to say, Ahadun Ahad, one Allah, one Allah. And Khabbab bin Arat radiallahu anh was put on burning coals. He said until the fat and the blood in his back extinguished the coals. He was a blacksmith, slave, and his mistress, the lady that owned him, she used to torture him. She used to burn his face with metal rods. These are the things that the early Muslims, when we read these things and we hear about these things, that's the reason we're Muslims today. If it wasn't for those people and their sacrifices, we wouldn't be saying La ilaha illallah today. Every incident that took place in that initial years of Islam, those Muslims, especially Makkah Mukarramah, we owe a debt to them that we can never repay them. We owe them so much, and we owe our deen to them, we owe our Islam to them, and we will never be able to repay them back. We have to think these are the people that they took risks. There is nowhere in the world for them to go. There is no, in their whole tribe, they've been tortured, they've been killed, they've been punished, they've been whipped. So many more instances. I'll just give you a few examples. So in this condition, Rasulullah SAW permitted them to make a migration, to migrate to another country and to go to somewhere that might be is better for them. And he said there's a king and he's just and he's good in Ethiopia, in Abyssinia. And the Sahaba radiallahu anh, the first migration, so the next line is وَأَرْبَعٌ مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ وَاثْنَا عَشَرٍ مِّنَ الرِّجَالِ السَّحْبِ كُلٌّ قَدْ هَجَرٍ. 4 women and 12 men from the companions migrated. This is the first immigration in Islam. 4 women and 12 men. It became so severe. They travel. These are people who live in a desert. They travel by ship, by boat, and through a long journey, hundreds of kilometers journey, through several countries to get to this safe place. Not an easy thing to do, especially for the ladies. The men used to travel in caravans, the ladies not so much. And for them to leave their home that has been for centuries, and to leave that and for the sake of Allah and the hardships that they were experiencing. So these are the sacrifices, as I mentioned before. These are the sacrifices. Because of that, we're Muslims. The difficulties must have been so harsh that they're ready to take these arduous journeys across the world. So this is the first hijrah of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. 4 women and 12 men, and among them, of course, is the migrants to Ethiopia. Of course, Osman radiallahu anhu and the daughter of Rasulullah Ruqayya radiallahu anhu, which we mentioned in the previous lessons. That they migrated, and where did they migrate? إلى بلاد الحبش في خامس عام وفيه عاد ثم عاد لا ملام. To the land of Ethiopia in the 5th year. In it they returned, and again they went back with no blame. So they made a hijrah. Then they heard news that things had become good in Makkah Mukarramah, and then the situations improved, and they came back within the same year. And then they learned, unfortunately, that this was not true. This was not true. And some of the Sahaba, like Abdullah ibn Masud radiallahu anh, decided to stay. They didn't go. Started into Makkah, and of course they went through a lot of hardship. And the rest, when they found out the situation is even more worse than before, they went back to Ethiopia. There was another migration, a large number of people, more than 83 people, which we explained in the next lesson, and 18 women. They migrated and they lived in Makkah, and the situation is good, and they're practicing their deen, and they're living peacefully. Until the Quraysh, when they heard this, it burned them to hear that these people they've left, now they're living happily and safely in some other country. They sent a delegation, Abdullah ibn Rabi'a and Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu. They were not Muslims then. They became later Sahaba radiallahu anhu. Anyway, Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu, these were the negotiators and delegates, the ambassadors of Quraysh. And their job was, although they became Muslims later on, Amr ibn al-As became Muslim later on, but in this situation, they were mushrikeen at that time, they were not Muslims. Their whole job was to bring the Muslims back to the torture, back to the difficulty. But alhamdulillah, Allah humiliated them. Alhamdulillah, the Quraysh's plot and plans failed, and they couldn't bring them back, and the Muslims lived there until the Muslims migrated to Medina. Among them, of course, was Ja'far ibn Talib. He was like the head of that group. And when he, on the conquest of Khaybar, he arrived back into Medina Munawwara. And Rasulullah SAW, when he saw him, he said, I don't know what makes me more happy, the conquest of Khaybar or seeing Ja'far bin Abi Talib, his cousin, Ali radiallahu anhu's brother. I don't know which one makes me more happy, whether this or the coming back of Ja'far bin Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to appreciate what these people did, all of these journeys, all of these migrations, all of these sacrifices, all the shuhada in Makkah Mukarramah, all these sacrifice hearts, all the hits that they took, all the treasure and life and wealth and difficult experience. Those were the contributions that we have a debt. We owe those people. We need to name our children after them. Sayyidina Zubair bin Awam radiallahu anhu, so we keep their memories alive within our children. We keep their memories alive within our families, their stories, because we owe them so much. We owe them so much for being Muslims. So Sayyidina Zubair bin Awam radiallahu anhu, he used to name his children. He was Sahabi, one of the 10 Sahabas promised Jannah. But he used to name his children after the shuhada, the martyrs of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. So he has a son, Mus'ab. He names his children after the shaheeds of the other Sahaba. This other Sahaba that became shaheed, he named after them. So these are one of the ways people ask how you name your kids, is one of the so we keep their stories alive, because those are the people who've done the biggest ihsan on the ummah after the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The people who have done the most ihsan in this ummah, the most kindness they've shown this ummah, the most favor they've shown to this ummah, are the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to appreciate them and follow in their footsteps. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.